You ever follow a trail through December snow, so cold it bites your bones, only to stumble on something that stops you dead? Never thought I would. Not till that morning, with the wind howling through the Sacramento pines and my breath freezing in my beard. I'd been following deer tracks for 2 days through those Sacramento pines. Needed the meat. Winter was closing in, and a man alone in the mountains. He learns to think ahead, or he dies stupid. But then the trail changed. Blood drops too fresh, too red, too human. My hand grabbed the Winchester. Fingers stiff from the cold. Heart hammering before I could even name the fear clawing up my spine. 3 years in those mountains, I'd gotten real good at listening to that voice in my head that says something's wrong. Cavalry taught me that. And what the cavalry didn't teach me, burying my wife and daughter, did. Then I saw her. Apache woman. Face down in frozen creek water. Wrists bound behind her back with rawhide that had cut through to bone. Beaten so bad I couldn't tell if she was breathing. Some animal had left her there to die like trash. Every nerve in me begged to turn back. Keep walking. Leave her there. I'd sworn off wars when I burned that damn blue coat and buried my past with Mary and Emma. This wasn't my fight. Not anymore. But then her eyes opened. Dark. Defiant. Unbroken. And I made a choice that would change everything. Think you'd have walked away. Maybe, but you didn't feel that cold biting your bones, didn't carry the weight of a wife and daughter gone to fever, their faces haunting every shadow. Stay with me on this one, partner. Hit that subscribe button, because where this goes, you won't see it coming. December 1878, 40 miles east of Fort Stanton, where the territory kept its secrets in pine and stone. I cut the rawhide from her wrists. She didn't flinch, didn't speak, just watched me with those coal black eyes, calculating whether I'd finish what the others started. Can't say I blamed her. I was 39 years old with a scar running ear to jaw, courtesy of an Apache lance back in '73. My hands shook a little now. Too many cold camps. Too many nights when whiskey was the only company I could stand. Easy, I said, shrugging off my wool coat. I'm not going to hurt you. Her eyes flicked up, sharp and wary, like she'd caught every word I said, but wasn't ready to trust them. No nod, no sound, just a tightening in her jaw that told me she knew my tongue. I could see it in her eyes. But she said nothing as I wrapped that coat around her shoulders. My eyes caught the frayed mescalero patterns stitched into her tattered deerskin dress, faded like her hope. Then I saw the scars, old rope burns circling her wrists, healed but raw in my gut, telling a story of chains she'd broken before. This wasn't her first time in chains. She was maybe 26. Strong shoulders, calloused hands, a worker, a survivor. She was beautiful, not soft, but forged, like a blade hammered by this brutal land, her eyes burning with a fire that no whip or chain could douse. Can you walk? She tried, made it 3 steps before her legs gave out. I caught her before she hit the ground, and for one dangerous moment our faces were inches apart. I smelled pine smoke in her hair, saw the fever flush on her cheeks, felt the lean muscle beneath torn fabric, a body built for endurance, not ornament. Ko, she whispered. Chie. Then consciousness left her. I carried her 3 miles back to my cabin, after Mary and Emma died while I was out on patrol, after I came home to find them both cold in their bed. I'd wanted nothing but isolation and silence. I'd gotten real good at being alone. But now I had this. I cleaned her wounds with whiskey and creek water, bound her ribs where they'd kicked her, covered the knife wound in her thigh with strips torn from my spare shirt, all by lamplight, all in silence, while outside the December wind howled like wolves. Her fever broke on the third day. I was splitting wood when I heard movement inside, grabbed my Colt and pushed through the door, ready for anything. She was pressed into the corner, my coat still wrapped around her, eyes wild with fear and fight. "It's all right," I said slowly. "You're safe here." She didn't believe me. Why would she? So I did the only thing I could think of. I set my gun on the table, far from both of us, and backed toward the door. "Food's there. Water too. I'll be outside." Then I left her alone. Days passed in careful silence. I'd enter only to tend the fire and leave food. She'd watch me like a cornered animal, ready to bolt or bite. But she ate. And slowly, that wild desperation in her eyes softened to something else. Wary curiosity, maybe. On the 8th day, I came in to find her standing. Barely. One hand braced against the log wall, jaw set with determination that would have impressed a cavalry sergeant. "What you want?" she asked in broken English. "Nothing. You were hurt. I helped. That's all. Men like you kill my people." I couldn't argue that. I'd worn the blue coat, ridden with Carr's cavalry against Victorio's band, seen things done to Apache prisoners that kept me awake at night. Still do, if I'm being honest. "I did," I said. "I was a soldier. But I'm not anymore." "Why?" Hell of a question. How do you explain to someone that you got tired of being the monster? That you came home to a dead wife and daughter and realized all that killing hadn't protected a damn thing? "Because I'm tired of death." Something shifted in her expression. Not trust. Not yet. But understanding. She told me her name on the 10th day. Nayeli. I taught her English words. Water. Food. Pain. Safe. She taught me Apache. Shikisi. My friend. Da'anzo. Be well. One evening, as darkness settled over the mountain, Nayeli began to sing. Her voice wove a lullaby. Soft and jagged, each note trembling with the mother's loss that cut me deeper than any blade. It hung in the air, heavy as the smoke curling from the fire. I sat by the fire, whittling a new axe handle, and listened to a mother sing for a child she'd been torn from. When the song ended, I spoke without looking at her. "I had a daughter once. Emma. She was 6 when the fever took her." Silence. Then, "Your wife?" "Mary. Same fever. Same week." I kept my eyes on the wood shaving, curling away from my knife. I was out on patrol. Came home to find them both cold in bed. More silence. Then soft footsteps. Nayeli sat across the fire from me, wrapped in a blanket. In the firelight, her face was all plains and shadows. High cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes that had seen too much too young. She reached down and drew something in the ash with her finger. A stick figure man. A smaller figure. A child. "Co," she said softly. "My son. 4 years." She looked up at me. "He waits for me." Right then I understood. She wasn't just another Apache woman. She was a mother. And everything she'd endured, the capture, the torture, the escape, she'd done it to get back to her boy. "We'll find a way," I heard myself say. "I'll help you get back to him." The look she gave me could have melted snow. You ever have someone look at you like you just handed them back their soul? Yeah. It does something to you. 17 days after I'd found her, I rode down to Lincoln for supplies. In the saloon, I heard 2 men talking at a corner table. "Pettigrew's offering 200 for that Apache bitch. Says she knows where the Mescalero band's hiding." My hand tightened on my glass. "Where's Pettigrew now?" "Heading back up to the Sacramento range." I left my whiskey unfinished and rode hard for the cabin. I arrived after dark. Nayeli had a fire going, and the smell of roasted rabbit filled that small space. She'd prepared a meal. My rabbit, but seasoned with wild herbs she'd gathered. Apache style. We ate in comfortable silence, Then Nayeli broke it. "Why you save me?" I set down my tin plate. "Because I couldn't let you die." "White men kill my husband, Fort Stanton. 2 years passed." Her English was getting better every day. "Why you different?" "Maybe because I'm tired of being part of that story." She stood, moving with that unconscious grace I'd noticed. Crossed the small space until she stood close enough that I could see the firelight reflecting in her eyes. "You..." She reached out, hesitated, then touched the scar running down my face. "You hurt too." Her fingertips were warm. My breath caught. "Apache Lance, 1873. My husband, white soldier bullet, 1877. She held my gaze. "We both have scars." We were standing so close now, close enough that I could see the pulse beating in her throat, could smell pine smoke and sage in her hair. 3 years. 3 years since I'd touched a woman. 3 years since I'd wanted to. Nayeli's hand rose again, resting on my chest, right over my heart, feeling it hammer against my ribs. "I see you," she said. My name, she'd learned it by then, but the way she said it in that accented English made it sound like something new. "You see me." And then she kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. 2 drowning people finding air. Her mouth was hot and urgent, her hands pulling at my shirt. My arms went around her, one hand tangling in that long black hair, while the other pressed against the small of her back, feeling the curve of her spine through thin fabric. We broke apart, breathing hard. "You don't have to." "I know." Her eyes were fierce, unapologetic. "I want. You understand? I want this." She kissed me again, deeper this time, and back toward the bed. Now look, I could tell you we made love by firelight while December wind rattled the shutters. I could describe how she undressed me slowly, her fingers tracing old scars, bullet wounds, knife cuts, the roadmap of a violent life. How when I unlaced that doe-skin dress, she was all lean muscle and brown skin, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with softness. How her breasts fit perfectly in my palms, nipples hardening against my thumbs. How the curve of her hip was something I'd remember until the day I died. I could tell you how she straddled me on that narrow bed, how she gasped when she sank down onto me. Half pain, half pleasure. How we moved together, slow at first, then building to something fierce and almost angry. Like we were fighting death itself, fighting loneliness, fighting a world that said we couldn't have this. But some things you keep for yourself, you know. What I will tell you is this. When we finished, she collapsed against my chest, both of us slick with sweat, hearts hammering like war drums. And she whispered one word, "Co." Reality came crashing back. My arms tightened around her. "I must go back to my son," she said. "I know, and I'll take you to him." We made love twice more, before dawn, slower, tender, memorizing each other like soldiers before battle. The next morning I prepared for the journey. 2 horses, 5 days of food, ammunition, warm blankets. "The men who took you are looking," I told her, "led by a man named Cyrus Pettigrew, ex-cavalry. He trades in human cargo now." Nayeli's eyes went hard as flint. "I know this man. He is the one who..." She touched her throat, where faded bruises still showed. "Then he'll try again. We move fast, stay off the main trails. And if he finds us, then I kill him. Simple as that. You think I'm being dramatic? I'd already killed plenty of men. One more wouldn't make a difference. Except this time, I'd be killing for something that mattered." We rode east through pine forest. That night we camped in a hollow where 3 pines made a natural windbreak. After we ate, Nayeli moved close to me by the fire. "Tell me about Emma." So I did. Told her about a little girl who'd collect wildflowers and leave them on my pillow. How she'd wanted to be a schoolteacher when she grew up. How she'd laugh at my terrible jokes and make me feel like maybe I wasn't such a bad man after all. She would have liked you, I finished. Nayeli rested her head on my shoulder. When I return to my people, they will ask about you. Tell them a white man helped you because it was right. Nothing more. But it is more. She looked up at me. For me, it is much more. We made love that night wrapped in blankets, quiet and desperate, knowing time was running out. Her body moved against mine like a prayer, like a promise we both knew we couldn't keep. Day 2 brought heavy snow. We pushed on, but slower now. I saw the tracks around noon. 5 horses, shod, following a path that would intersect our trail within a day. Pettigrew. That night we sheltered in a cave. Nayeli pressed against me for warmth, trembling. I'm afraid, she whispered. Me too. If they take me again, they won't. My arms tightened around her. I promise you, they won't. She tilted her face up to kiss me, soft, lingering, like she was trying to remember the taste of me. I will miss you, she said. When this is over and I am with my son, I will miss you every day. And I'll miss you every night. We held each other in that dark cave, listening to snowfall and horses stamp outside, knowing tomorrow would bring blood. They came at dawn on day 3. 5 riders emerging from the tree line, spreading out to block the trail. The one in front sat tall in the saddle, wearing a cavalry coat with the insignia torn off. Cyrus Pettigrew. Son of a bitch. Been a long time, you traitorous bastard, he called out. I stepped forward, Winchester in hand. Behind me, Nayeli moved to the horses, reaching for the rifle in the saddle scabbard. Pettigrew. Still trading in human misery, I see. That squaw's worth $200 to me. Hand her over and I'll let you ride away. She's not for sale. You testified against me, cost me my commission, my pension, everything. Pettigrew leaned forward. And now here you are, protecting savages. What happened? You go native? I raised the Winchester. Last chance. Right away. Can't do that. I need that Apache. She knows where her people are hiding. Behind me, Nayeli spoke in clear English. I am not afraid of you anymore, Snake. You beat me. You hurt me. But I am still here. And you will not take me again. Pettigrew's eyes locked on her. Bitch got mouthy. Don't worry. I'll break that spirit before I sell you. Then he went for his gun. Everything happened in heartbeats. My Winchester barked, took the rider on Pettigrew's left, clean off his horse. Nayeli's rifle cracked, and another man went down clutching his shoulder. Pettigrew fired. The bullet hit me high in the left shoulder, spinning me around. I went down hard, snow exploding around me. Pain. Christ, the pain. But I'd been shot before. You learn to work through it, or you die. Nayeli didn't hesitate. She dropped the rifle, yanked my Colt from my belt, and fired twice. First shot took Pettigrew in the chest. Second hit him in the throat as he fell from his horse. The remaining 2 riders wheeled their horses and ran. Nayeli knelt beside me, hands already pressing against the wound. Blood seeped between her fingers, hot and red against white snow. Stay with me. I blinked up at her. You shot good. You taught me, you stubborn man. Tears streaked her face. You do not die. You hear me? She tore strips from her shirt, packed the wound, bound it tight with shaking hands, all the while talking to me in a mix of English and Apache, prayers, curses, promises. I'm all right, I managed. Just hurts like hell. Sound of hoofbeats made us both freeze. But these weren't Pettigrew's men. 4 cavalry riders emerged from the trees, led by a grizzled sergeant. Dutch Kowalski, my old friend from Fort Stanton. Dutch dismounted, took in the scene. 2 dead men, me bleeding in the snow, an Apache woman with a gun still in her hand. Jesus Christ, you always did have a talent for finding trouble, partner. Dutch. What? How? Figured you might need backup. Dutch looked at Nayeli. This the Apache woman Pettigrew was hunting? She's not for sale. Didn't figure she was. Dutch extended a hand to help me up. You're lucky, old friend. That bullet missed the bone. We reached the Mescalero camp on day 5. Dutch and his men escorted us, not as prisoners, but as protection. The Apache camp was hidden in a canyon, maybe 30 people sheltering in wickiups. Old men, women, children. Then a little boy broke from the group. Shima. The cry cut through the cold air. Shima. Nayeli slid from her horse and ran. She caught him in her arms, both of them sobbing, speaking rapid Apache that needed no translation. A mother reunited with her son. I watched from my horse, one arm in a sling, heart cracking clean in 2. An old Apache man approached. He studied me with eyes that had seen a lifetime of war. You brought her back. She was never mine to keep. You could have kept her. White men do as they wish. Not this white man. The old warrior nodded slowly. You love her. Yes, but you know she must stay. For the boy. I know. He placed a weathered hand on my good shoulder. You are an honorable enemy. Then Nayeli returned, her son clinging to her hip. The boy stared at me with huge dark eyes. This is my friend, Nayeli said softly to him in English. I dismounted carefully, knelt so I was eye level with the boy. Hello. Your mother is very brave. He buried his face in Nayeli's neck. She looked at me, and in her eyes I saw everything we couldn't say. Everything we'd never have. So she did the only thing she could. She reached out, placed one hand over my heart. Shikisi, she said, then softer. Shidai. More than that, she kissed me. Long, desperate, final. Then she turned and walked into the camp, her son in her arms, and didn't look back. The ride back was silent. I didn't speak. Just stared at the mountains and remembered firelight on brown skin. Remembered laughter. Remembered a woman who'd taught me I could still feel something other than grief. 3 days later, Dutch left me at my cabin. You going to be all right? Eventually. She made the right choice, for her son. I know, but it still hurts like hell. June 1879. I was mending fence when I heard hoofbeats. My hand dropped to the colt on my hip, old habits, but then I saw her. Nayeli, riding a painted mare, wearing traditional Apache dress, her hair long and free in the summer wind. I stood frozen, hammer in hand, afraid to blink in case she was a ghost. She dismounted, walked toward me with that same confident grace, stopped 3 feet away. Co is safe. My people go south. Mexico. He goes with his uncle. And you? I stayed with him. 6 months. But my heart... She pressed her hand to her chest. My heart was not there. I dropped the hammer. If you still want me... She closed the distance. I pulled her into my arms, kissed her like a man drowning. I waited every day, I said against her mouth. I know. She smiled through tears. It will be hard. I don't care. Neither do I. We stood there in the summer sun, 2 broken people who'd found each other in the darkness, and for the first time in years, I felt something like hope. Think this is where the trail ends? Could be. But out here, in these mountains, stories don't wrap up neat. They linger, like the smell of gunpowder on your hands. Truth is, the West was never gentle. But sometimes, just sometimes, it made room for love. The kind that strips away everything false and leaves only what's true. We chose each other.